Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. Today's video was supposed to be something else. I was in the process of editing it. It was like a little day in my life, but honestly it was boring, and I realized the most important thing in that video was why I switched schools in the middle of the school year. I switched schools right after first semester. Officially I applied from the first school, and I just want to kind of walk you guys through that because I know a lot of people think like once you go to college, like the concept of a lot of people my age and a lot of people younger, they think that once you go to college, it's like the college for you, and if you don't like college, then you just drop out. But there are so many more. I keep messing with my hair, I'm sorry. Fix it. Hair in my mouth. There are so many other options available to us here in the US that's so much easier and a lot more cost effective than completely dropping out of school, because if you completely drop out of school, you pay everything flat right there, whatever you owe. Whereas when you transfer, a lot of times schools won't accept you if you if you technically do transfer papers. But the way I did it was I unenrolled from the first school that I was at, which was Fisk University, an HBCU. It's not that I don't like HBCUs. If you want to go to an HBCU, make sure you do. Make sure you do your research on it, just like any other school. But it just personally was not the school for me. So I unenrolled from that one, took it off my FAFSA, my financial aid, and then I applied for another one and have my transcripts moved over. So it's not an official transfer, but all of my credits are still there. My financial aid is with my new school, so it's in Georgia, so I basically have to pay nothing for it. It was a really hard process, not because of the school I was transferring to, but because the school I was transferring from, which was Fisk. Fisk was extremely hard in communication. It was like they never really paid attention to what I was asking and paid attention to what the students needed. A lot of people had problems with it. It's just that the difference with them is that they preferred to stay because they're like, hey, it's Corona, which we're in a pandemic, which was like the main excuse that they used for everything. If someone didn't email on time, it was, oh, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, okay, but I can answer my emails on time. My mother is dealing with hundreds of people a day as a real estate agent, and she takes calls and emails on time. So it was just getting to a point where I was really, really irritated. And then yeah, I would go to the offices and the offices were closed. They're like, oh, we're in a pandemic, and they just used the pandemic excuse for everything. I know things were a little bit hard this year. They were hard for everybody, but when I am actually trying to reach out and trying to be a responsible adult and you kind of just shut me down, that just makes me feel like, one, you don't respect me, and two, how can I respect you? After that, I just lost all respect and lost all trust in that school because I just felt like they weren't trying to care for me like I was trying with them. The only reason I went to Fisk in the first place was to play volleyball. There was nothing really against the volleyball team itself. Because of what we're in now, I couldn't be with my team the whole time I was there. There were a lot of restrictions on us, which were okay. Yeah, we are in a pandemic. There should be restrictions on certain things. We had to stay quarantined for about 3 to 4 weeks out of the 7 weeks that we were allowed to be there, because people kept getting corona, even though we were in restrictions. Which for me is like, the more restriction, you should have a baseline of like restrictions, but the more restrictions you put on young teenagers, the more they're gonna want to do other stuff. And then it wasn't like there was any like security regulations to keep us from not going outside the campus. It was literally in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the ghettos, and so it was like we just walk off campus and random people. Oh my gosh, there were so many instances where I would be walking just from my dorm room to the dining hall, and a random person off the street would just walk onto the campus and start flirting with me. Look, I'm just trying to get my food and go back to my room because we can't eat in the dining hall. I don't have any friends here except for my neighbors, my RA, and another person that was on the other side of me. Look, leave me alone, you old person crackhead. I'm not dealing with it. So, yeah, that was really weird. For me, at least. I know Georgia State is like that too, but at least I have the safety of being in my own town. I know Atlanta. I know the streets where not to go. I know where to eat. I know what kind of people live here. That was a new situation. It's like flying to a new planet, not knowing what kind of species or life forms live there. I was just in the dark and I didn't know what was going on. But because of volleyball, I decided to go anyways. I decided not to go to Georgia State last year for fall semester, which I regretted because of what happened. And my coaches in general, they were very nice. The head coaches of Fisk were very nice. They were very supportive. They really helped me get through in a lot of situations that just the school cannot handle themselves. So in that sense, they did provide a community. They did provide somewhat of a community for me, which I really do appreciate because after a couple of weeks of being in that school, I was on the deep end. Like, I could not handle being there anymore. Eventually, we did start having practices, but by then I had already left for a weekend to go home because I was in such a deteriorating mental state that I was scared to be in my room by myself on a campus in a place that I didn't know. I hadn't felt I was about to cry. I hadn't felt that low and that depressed since I haven't felt that low and depressed since high school, which I know wasn't that far away, but there were some weeks in high school that were just my darkest and my lowest. And when I finally came back from that, I was really happy that I did that for myself, and I was really happy that I was able to overcome it. And I promised myself that I would do everything in my power to make sure that my mental health, it can be low at times, but I would never get to a point where it was that bad, where I was questioning my worth, where I was questioning every single little thing. And I don't know what it was, but at Fisk, I was questioning myself so much, and I just felt so alone and in a dark pit. I had people there, but I couldn't do it. It wasn't, if I had went to Fisk and we were not in a pandemic, I probably would not have felt the way I do now. But the fact of it is, I felt alone. I was alone for most of the time while I was there. I literally would just sit in my room with my classes. I had no in-person hybrid classes at all because of the situation that happened before I even got on campus. I don't know if I said that in a video before, but basically what happened was that in the process of getting housing and everything, I didn't have a housing assignment a day before I was supposed to move in. So I was emailing people, calling people, and they're like, oh, you were supposed to turn in these 3 things. Well, technically on what the paperwork said, it said turn it into these specific offices. So I assumed that I would turn it in on the offices once I get on campus. Again, and they were like, no, what was you thinking? Again, I'm a freshman. I've never been through this before, so it's your job as people who have guided so many others to guide me and help me with certain things. So yeah, that whole environment was just so bad for me. Eventually my friend Winnie did go up there. She went to TSU. She had a roommate, and that campus was pretty much open, so I spent a lot of my time, because it was only like a 10-minute walk, so I spent a lot of my time because I had a lot of time. That was the weird thing. Like, my mom would be like, you're not studying, and I'm like, what is there to study for? I literally have nothing to do. I would have nothing to do for like a whole week. I would have class for like 1 or 2 days, and while I'm in class, yeah, but most of the times I would just be like in class, wait for it to run down the clock, and then X out of online class, and then go do whatever for the next 3 days. Like, I didn't have anything to do, so I would walk to the campus. I would hang out on TSU because there were some people from our high school at TSU. Me and Winnie would go and we would eat, and we would explore the city a little bit, just to, like, get our hopes up, because we both were feeling, because after a while of being there, we both were feeling like, what in the world is going on? Both schools were terrible at communication, and I'm just not bashing Fisk just because they're a historically in a HBCU, because honestly, HBCUs are cool. If I were able to go to an HBCU, be in a financially stable way, and be on campus and be an actual college student, I would have, but that wasn't an option that I had. And in general, TSU and Fisk were terrible at communication. I know a little bit about TSU just because, of course, my friend Winnie went there and she had terrible communication, even worse than mine. So it wasn't just Fisk, it was other schools in the surrounding area. Don't know about Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt seemed pretty good. So thinking about Vanderbilt for graduate school, I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, that's basically the reasons why I decided to leave. And yeah, I just couldn't let myself do that anymore. The coaches honestly were the best part of it. They created a safe space for me to talk to them about where I was at in my headspace and why I needed to leave. For the most part, they were very understanding. The team itself, I tried to talk to some new people. There was one girl from my that I used to play volleyball with before. I was trying with some of them, but I just felt like they had already snapped on a community so fast that I wasn't able to just grasp into it. So didn't have that really. So yeah, but and then financially, you want to support HBCUs, but they're really hard. It's really hard to go to an HBCU and just like be financially okay with paying for the school all the time, because they were asking for payments so much and it was so hard, and I just couldn't keep up. And so even now, I still have a debt with them, but eventually down the line, they will get paid from the refunds that I'm getting from Georgia State, because I have so much financially in Georgia State because I'm in state, that I'm getting refunds from it, and then they're getting sent to Fisk University. So yeah, but now it's kind of weird because Fisk took, like I said earlier, I took Fisk off of my FAFSA for this semester. Somehow they were able to get my government Pell Grant funds from Georgia State and literally snatched them and put them into their account. That still didn't put them into their account, so I'm still trying to figure out how they did that without them being on my FAFSA sheet at all. They were not on there at all. I took them right off. The only thing that was on there was Georgia State. So trying to figure out that what they did was illegal or not. If they was, please let me know, because if they do not return that money, just to leave, I will be taking legal action against them for doing so. So anyways, thank you for watching my TED Talk. I just wanted to share my experience, because I know a lot of people during this pandemic are thinking about different options. I know one of my cousins are actually dropping out of college, which is their decision. Like, the whole family's not going to be like, oh wow, but it is sad to see it happen, and I know a lot of students are going through the same thing too. So that's not your only option. It will be hard trying to transfer because those schools want your money. It will be hard to transfer, but it is possible. You can do it cheaper, and like you can find something better. You don't have to sit there and suffer and wallow in the decision that you made. You can try to figure out how to change it. If you do the same thing over and over again in the exact same way, there's no way there's going to be a change. So you have to change something. Okay, so that's why I made this video. And I mean, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope you do a lot more research on colleges. I will be coming out with videos in the future about my Georgia State college experience after this semester. So make sure you guys subscribe and hit the bell button for that if you want to see that in the future, and more things about college as I'm experiencing it. So you guys, my younger audience, my older audience, can all see it happen. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I love you. Bye. Mwah, mwah, mwah.